welcome back. We are here for the Between Darkened Mirrors, episode 20 something. I say that because I'm not sure whether the interlude, the very short interlude we had the last time, will go in as its own little episode or if it's going to be part of the one previous as an extended version. So we're just going to call it 20 something at the moment. So, in looking at the hunters, the American, Doc, and Whitmore, the Factotum, have one condition each. But where we left off from the interlude is that we found out that Doc's in jail, or probably something close to it, if not actually in jail. We'll find out. And yeah, you had done some investigating, and there's the very good possibility of answering some questions, like answering either the Order of Azure Eyes or the Pinkerton or both, and then seeing what you want to do for night phase. Okay, so we're just on the tag end of day at the moment. Yeah, and that would be the end of the threats, unless by some beastly miracle that Victor just keeps on getting hunt marks, in which case it's like, we may see the beast before things end. Who knows? I don't know how this works. I'm just play to find out. It's all good. Doc, we established that the others were investigating the order, but then you were off in doing some investigation of your own, and then they found out from Kenny, who got away, that you were being captured. Like I guess the Bobbies had come at Taggard's behest or whatever, and you're probably in jail. At least that's what Kenny thinks. So,
Sounds about right, yeah.
yeah. So, what do you think is happening? It's like if we take the camera over to where Doc is at the moment, um, where is Doc?
Hmm. Well, you had mentioned that probably in this case scenario that Taggart would try to frame me or scapegoat me for
Yep.
something that he had been up to.
Oh yeah.
Um, so I think that like Doc is in a holding cell somewhere
Nice.
that's not like, sardine packed full of people, but like there's a good number of people there. Um, Either like sitting on the like benches bolted into the wall or just kind of like on the stone floor. Um, I know that we're not in the Wild West, fabled Wild West United States, but I'm imagining something as similar to like the sheriff's office uh, uh, prison cell as London can offer, which I think in this case, since we're involving the Bobbies, likely is more than just a building and a room, right? Like this is a larger building, maybe a bit more substantial. Um, and I think it's like a really dour, silent mood. The only sound is like dripping water, rats scurrying in the distance. Probably the officers who are like watching the front door, having water cooler talk by whatever desk is up there. Um, and then Doc, not like whispering, but clearly only talking to all of the other prisoners in the cell. Just like, any of y'all mind if I break out my harmonica? And I think that the response Docs gets is a combination of being completely ignored and getting like a kind of sideways glance from a couple people. And I think then Doc just kind of like sets in playing harmonica almost to himself. And the idea is to kind of like slowly get everyone in the room talking. Um, Doc's trying to get a prison break underway, and that involves getting everyone inside the prison cell, kind of in one group.
Is this a particular move of yours, or are we talking day move at this point?
Yeah, good question. This is kind of like the lead up to trying to use tall tale to convince every prisoner in the cell to try to like stage a prison break.
Go ahead and read off the Tall Tales move, please.
Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. It's further down than I think. Yeah. So when you tell a story from back home that is wildly unbelievable in order to charm someone, roll with presence. On a hit, they fall for your charm and do as you wish, or reveal a clue, your choice. On a 10 plus, they won't ask for anything in return. On a 12 plus, they also give you a keepsake to remember them by. Ask another hunter what it is and then write it down in your personal quarters.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Okay, so I'm gonna say that if you roll on Tall Tales, like we see the camera kind of like, like slowly panning across the yard and as you play your harmonica. Maybe you're doing this like musical prelude for it, and then you start to tell your story. So if you have a tale, great. If you don't have a tail, that's fine too. I want to see what this roll looks like. So you need to roll 2d6 with presence. If you'd like to use any kind of uh, item to, um, help you with this, you totally can. I
Is
think
it still the same day phase
yes,
where
as from what
gotcha.
we're in right now.
So
Yes,
actually I
whereas
think my custom move, everything echoes,
okay.
is giving me advantage on presence rolls
Oh, okay.
for the rest of this day phase.
Okay.
So should I roll first and then describe the story or
Yeah, because we want to see exactly like what
yeah.
kind of effect it's going to have. So 3d6, take the two highest plus your presence, please.
Okay. Double check my presence, or rather triple check. Yep, it is two. Uh, okay, so that is a 12. 6 plus 4 plus 2.
Okay. So
Finally.
so 12 so 12 plus, they will do what you ask. Pick one of the other hunters to tell you what keepsake you get as you're telling this
Uh,
story. Or do you want to like kind of do you have something to say what the story is,
oh, I totally do. I totally do. As far as the keepsake, Paul, if you could start thinking on a good keepsake, I think that like montage style, we see Doc begin to play his harmonica, and that catches everyone in the prison cell's attention bit by bit. Some people just kind of paying attention, listening to the song, maybe even a little smirk or a foot tap here and there. Some people are like, "Hey, shut up." At a certain point, there's a little boil over, and the people that aren't liking are like, you know, quiet. And Doc is like, "I apologize. I apologize. I just when I'm having a real bad day, the only thing that calms me down is staying busy, playing the harmonica, uh, singing a song. And this is just about the worst day I've ever had. And then move into Doc's next phase of the plan, which is to be like, anyone else in the cell had a worse day than today? Because this feels pretty tops for me as far as worst days and like again a mix of people who are still basically ignoring this and don't really want to get roped in and a couple people who maybe were listening to the harmonica and were starting to enjoy themselves speak up with the oh no, like one time like I fell fully in the sewers right as everyone was emptying their chamber pots on my street. Something terrible stories like that. Doc goes up, like listening to the stories, giving little feedbacks, and the story itself is, you know what, now that I'm thinking about it, I have had one worse day. I was out west. If you can't guess, I'm from the Americas, in the United States, and so I was out west riding with a group of folks. We were sent to capture some cattle rustlers, and we made camp one night. And I remember it was a full moon because right in the middle of the night, after we'd all gone to bed and thrown sand on our fire, every single one of us wakes up just about the same time screaming, realizing that we made camp on a nest of fire ants. Then, aside for Doc to explain what fire ants are, because I don't think those exist on the continent of Europe at all. It's certainly not in like the United Kingdom on England, in England. Um, does that. And, you know, it was even with the full moon, too dark for us to do anything besides wake up, shake out our bedrolls, and just sit on our haunches by the horses until the sun rose. And when it did, there were a few of us who could not let it go. They weren't ready to go about their day. And so what they did was, in the light of day, they found the fire ant nest. They outlined it to their best estimation, and they covered up all the little holes the ants were using to crawl out with dirt. And they half buried a stick of dynamite that one of them had in their pack, lit it, and ran. The idea being to blow up the fire ant nest, get revenge for them ruining our night of sleep and for biting us so bad. Uh, and we were a ways away, with dynamite being as dangerous as it is, uh, and celebrating our victory over them fire ants that had bugged us so completely. When all of a sudden, all of us start feeling nips at our ankles and calves and all the way up our pants and our boots, and we realized that the fire ants hadn't been destroyed. They had just burrowed deeper and found a different way out from where we had buried them. I don't know if there's a moral of that story, but I will say fire ants are pretty tenacious. And that's the story that's supposed to put an idea in the guys' heads to try to escape.
I mean, like maybe you've got some murmurs like among the people that are actually like listening to you talk, you know, that independent um, uh, American from across the pond or whatever, and they're taking it as a sign. It's like we don't have to stand for this. We can also, um, you know, burrow out another way, or maybe like some are willing to create a distraction and like all sorts of weird stuff. But at any rate, with the 12 plus, they won't ask for anything in return. They will do as you wish, and yeah, maybe there's a bit of a ringleader amongst them that will appreciate your story and give you something.
Very
Paul,
exciting.
what is this purported you know revolutionary give Doc?
Just to change things up. It's not necessarily one of those um hoarders items that's like a physical object, but I think it's more of an experience, maybe. I think because Doc mentioned that like other people were telling their stories as he was telling his, I think, and he had a harmonica that whenever a story would end, there would be the classic like da-na, da-na, and then like the next story would begin kind of deal. And
Nice.
after Doc's story finishes, I think everyone, or at least a few people, join in. Like someone starts like messing around with some coins in their pocket. Some people kind of like, um, maybe there's a guy surprising has another harmonica that just happens to be there. And I think the item you would get in your quarters is an impromptu song.
Oh, awesome. Nice.
I love that.
I love it too.
That's going to be
Oh.
so fun to use.
Oh man, I think that, yeah, that is definitely a good one for sure. Um, I think, yeah, what do you ask them to do, whether subtly or like outright? As like under the cover of everybody murmuring and like getting in on like a song.
I
What?
think I think it starts as like a really false surprise and
Mhm.
like, you know what, now that I think about it, that story could apply to all of us here now, couldn't it? If we were like those fire ants, if we didn't give up and kept trying to find a way to escape, no matter how deep we'd been buried, who's to say we couldn't come up and bite people in the ankles? And like, so this is starting from the position of Doc, knowing this is exactly what he's trying to do. That's exactly why
Mhm.
he's telling this story. And he is going to try to his goal is to convince people to help him specifically by using like tying together. I don't know exactly how this would work, but we're, playing loosey-goosey with physics.
Sure.
Um, Tying together like a bunch of jackets and socks into the bars of the window at the back of the cell, and then using the powers of leverage and greater manpower to wrench the bars out of the wall. Um,
I will say the way they're aiding and abetting this is, there are some people that are doing the whole, um, you know, taking care of the mechanical part of it and trying to pull the window or what have you out of the wall, to allow for an escape, and then others string up an impromptu barbershop quartet. They know the song from America, Tramp, 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 popular during the recently concluded American Civil War. And they burst out into this and they treat it like a round. So, like, where four had started it, then there's like four more that pick it up and then creates this raucous amount of sound that the guards are trying to quell, and it's not working because everybody's getting into it. And then you even hear strains coming from outside as other people seem to be joining in. This is a tall tale in itself, and we are enjoying this moment because as they are doing the rousing chorus of tramp, 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 then I think this is where maybe the others taking care of the mechanical parts actually break through the wall, allowing you to go free.
That's
And others, but I
amazing.
mean, like, they'll
Yeah,
your
the
friend
camera's
will
on
allow you to go
Doc,
first. Yeah.
and Doc is just like the entire time this is happening, just grinning like an absolute madman. The only person not doing something amongst these two groups of prisoners, just like directly in the middle of one group up against the front bars, singing this song in the round, and then this other group of prisoners creating like some sort of rope leverage system to tear the bars out. And Doc, I think it occurs to Doc also, like, this is a real life fairy tale, folk tale happening right now, and is just like so enthused by it.
With every chorus of tramp, 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 there's more people that are we are working their way outside of this jail, this holding cell. Oh man. And then we see Doc like making his way back. Um but now we cut over to back to Hargrave House after getting the news. What are Victor and Whitmore planning on doing?
It's still Whitmore holding his jaw. Probably heading. Whitmore's first thought is to go find the phone number for Hargrave House's solicitor to try and get him out of jail. However, knowing that time is of the essence, he will call to Victor, who's probably coming down the stairs, and say, Victor, we need the hatchets.
All right. I always have mine.
Right, you do.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how to break someone out of jail then?
Depends. Just a jail here, nothing special about it at all.
For the sake of argument, yes. I
Yeah.
can't imagine that they're holding Doc in anything special.
All right. You kick the door down, kill everyone along the way, and you get out. It's not that straightforward, really.
Can we skip the second part of that plan? Just kick down the door and get everyone out?
I can do that, but usually the people slower than me can't. That's why I have to take the other people down along the way to make room for the nun, uh, like
The nun?
the
And
nun, like like
oh,
us, the people who train all their lives to hunt the things that most people would rather avoid.
so 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 we don't need like a Catholic nun for this
No,
prison
like a
break.
nun hunter. I had to think about it for a second because technically every person in Hargrave House is a hunter of sorts. So here the nomenclature is a little different than my regular day to day.
On that thought,
Mm-hmm.
Victor, um, might also want to bring up a stretcher for whoever you're killing? I don't.
Why? There'll be dead weight. That makes no sense, Whitmore.
I don't know. I've never planned a prison break before. That was always something Lord James Campbell Hughes took care of. All I did was drive the...
As long
We have-
as you're fine with bringing death upon people you may or may not know. There's been a few times escaping a
Sure,
prison,
Victor, sure. Victor, we have Calliope.
and
And
she can help us along
Get
the
to
way.
the prison.
Horses have a very strong, like a back
Victor.
kick from a horse can kill
to
any.
quote Lord James Campbell Hughes, no time like the present, no wasting time. Fire in the hole, and let's go.
All right.
I don't think that's anything he said. I think I've been spending too much time with Doc.
You okay, Whitmore? You good?
No, I was unconscious a couple of minutes ago,
That's
and
true.
then
You're
ran
definitely
here and-
concussed. You shouldn't sleep tonight. Kind of just have to stay awake. I forget the other things that go along with it, but that's definitely one of them. And
this,
I think
this is
this is one of the ones where you don't want to drink
we'll
alongside it.
we'll ask Doc for his expert medical advice once we get him out of. Wait, no. He's not a doctor, right?
Is he?
He's
He's a lot of.
Julius and not a doctor, right?
Is he? He is some things, but I don't believe a medical doctor is one of them. He has suggested rubbing dirt in wounds to help clean them much too often to be a doctor, I believe.
You make a good point there. And as this is said, Whitmore is grabbing Calliope's saddle. And we're going to tandem ride Calliope to the jail as quickly as possible.
I'm just gonna run with more. It's fine. It's faster.
Then a horse?
Well, the horses have to follow the street. I can kind of cut through the city. Straight line with more. Much shorter.
In that case, I'll meet you there.
I'm gonna say that when you saddle up Calliope and you make
Mhm.
to ride, I think she's gonna take her own dear sweet time. It's as if she knows that, oh, there's no rush. I mean, Doc's coming soon. There's no hurry. And you're probably like, come on, we gotta go. What's going on? And she's not budging. And then, maybe like, even as Victor takes to the roof, maybe you'll see like a familiar duster coat or whatever Doc's usual suit is, and that possibly disreputable hat, whichever, like kind of whistling down the street. And Whitmore on Calliope will skid up soon after. Do you have friends with you, Doc, or are you like just like kind of jauntily like, making your way back to Hargrave House by yourself?
In my head, just because it would make for a good shot, the moment that Victor runs into me and then, Calliope and Whitmore's close behind, I'm saying goodbye to the last two guys. It's like we're all walking home and people are like splitting off like on their way home from school. It's like,
Yes.
all right, well, thanks again. Fire ants forever, right? Right? And Doc's like pointing. Goes, Victor, Whitmore, Calliope. Perfect. This is perfect. You would not believe where I've been.
Oh, excellent timing, Doc. We need your help. You've been incarcerated and we need to get you out.
I have good news for you, Whitmore. Can you guess what it is?
Victor's come up with a plan, and hopefully it doesn't involve murder.
I am no longer incarcerated. Are you two okay? I feel like that's pretty obvious that I'm not in jail anymore, but this seems to be coming to you slowly.
Whitmore's
Victor said I had to tell you something. What was it?
Whitmore's concussed. Doc. He is.
I was, I took a
Yes.
nap this afternoon. was delightful.
Oh
That was
no.
it.
Do you take a nap after getting hit really hard in the head? How'd you get hit? Victor, how'd you get hit in the head?
I got punched in the face, actually.
Oh,
Right in the jaw. You can look
uh,
if you look closely, it's still kind of swollen.
all right. Well, that's normal enough.
Yeah.
Well, if Whitmore's concussed, we should break into the good coffin varnish I have in the ballroom, and figure out what we're doing tonight. Because I'll tell you what, I feel
Mhm.
lucky. I think we can get a lot done this evening. I'm on a hot streak, as some might say.
Very
Excellent.
good.
But first, we'll get you out of prison.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That way, and Doc points back to Hargrave House. Exactly, Whitmore, you lead the way. That direction. And
I
knowing that Calliope will just carry
yeah.
him
Yeah,
where he needs to go.
I think she nuzzles your face, Doc, just kind of like, oh, pity this poor human on top of me because he's not doing so
Mhm.
hot. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that, you know? It's like
Totally.
animals know. Animals just know.
Yeah, I wipe a little booger out of her eye and then pet her nose and go, I
Yeah.
like almost under my breath to myself. Yeah, yeah, I know. Good taking care of him.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. So we are out of day phase. Yay!
Woohoo!
Woohoo! Okay. And I will say that Taggart probably thinks it's like, oh, that's that rascal taken care of. Not realizing that you've broken out of jail. Um, so now we enter into dusk, okay? So we're just going to go into the usual things and then we'll see if you guys want to like answer some questions, right? Any playbook moves or custom moves that need to be resolved during the dusk phase. Okay, you did
I've
not
got
mark
my
cosmetic range.
curse.
You got your curse.
And
Oh,
since I just got out of jail, I am gonna roll with the higher stat because maybe I can avoid having to do get out of jail and also be locked in a room all night.
hmm.
Actually, now that I've said it, I don't want to do that. Okay, let me. That'd be really good. That'd be a really good punchline to like, I feel lucky. Let's go do a bunch of
Oh,
things.
okay, okay, all right, sure. And Whitmore, you have a move for dusk as well? I thought.
Yes.
Okay.
Since that one doesn't have a role, day work. Uh, Despite all of the shenanigans, I spent most of the day caring for Hargrave House, tidying things up. I can either get a clue for an active threat, which I don't think we need, or a personal quarters item. And since it seems that Victor's running low on those, I'd like to give Victor a bag of frozen peas or chilled meat. The same thing that he like giving him back the item that he used to care for Whitmore's face. I'm sure you can find a good use for that.
And Doc, quickening, please.
Well, the fates are on my side. I rolled a 12
Oh
on
my.
2d6 plus 0. So advantage on vitality rolls for this night phase, and then I need to think of a clue that I would uncover due to my heightened sense of hearing and smell.
Exactly. And I'm going to bend the rule a little bit because I mean, usually they say only find it like at dawn, like when you're done with everything.
Mhm.
But I'm going to say that if you want to put your thumb on the scale now with a clue for either one, either the Pinkerton or for Order of the Azure Eyes, you can do so. And you can either create the clue yourself to, again, put your thumb on the scale, or you can ask me to do from the list because God knows I got plenty for either one. So, your choice. All right. I mean, especially if we are thinking that you guys are going to answer some questions tonight, you would definitely want to use that clue uh, advantage, while you can. So let's go on to the next part of the phase. Paint the scene question about Hargrave House. Let's see what's left. My favorite. The servants' quarters. These rooms are mostly empty nowadays, as given the place's history, very few people want to work at Hargrave House. They have mostly, frequently been used as a place for trysts between the house's residents. What here reminds you of that? And you can put your answers in rooms at Hargrave House in that tab.
One of the shelves in the servants' quarters, there is a collection of romance novels, one of which, unlike the others, is actually Whitmore's. It is a telling of a fictional tryst between a noble saving a commoner from poverty. It's not something that anyone would find unless you were specifically looking for it on the shelf.
I think that there is a box of half burnt candles. Like this is where they store the candles to use in the house, but people keep like, oh, I'll just take one of these candles and like borrow it for a couple hours to make sure there's light in here, and no one will notice because it's one candle out of a box. People keep coming in and doing that though, and now the whole box has all been like pre-burned. It's just a box that looks like it's full and hasn't been touched yet, but every candle has been like a quarter burnt, half burnt, somewhere around that.
I think just like a bed, like stuck to the ceiling.
Sure, absolutely. The next step is to say what you'll be doing during the upcoming night phase, but of course, I'm sure there's some things that, well, you want to talk about out of character, free-willing discussion, about answering a question or two, maybe. So, what do we think? With the threats, let's go over this. The Order of Azure Eyes has 5 clues that you could use towards a 4 complexity. If the Order isn't real, what is Dr. Klauser up to? Resolve the threat by confronting Dr. Klauser and satisfying yourself that he means no harm to London, or, failing that, by putting a stop to his plans. And then there's also the Pinkerton, okay? Also 5 clues found that you can use towards a 4 complexity again. What unsavory scheme is Taggard pursuing while he's in London? Resolve the threat by confronting Taggard with his shady dealings and convincing him to leave London. Okay? So you can answer one or both. Get her done. What would you like to work on?
I think I have an idea for Order of Azure Eyes to resolve that one.
Oh, well, let's go over the go over the clues real quick. A sketchbook full of drawings of eyes, hands, and human organs. A book on occult botany with many dog-eared pages and notes scribbled along the margins. Stickers like a postage stamp with a red eye stuck up in sneaky places. They smell of burning rubber. Erica was seen being intimate with Dr. Klauser, and stories of how Dr. Klauser has hypnotized people on stage.
I think it's much more satisfying if Dr. Klauser really does pose no threat. All of these various clues are different schemes that he's attempted to run. Sketchbook full of drawings of eyes, hands, and human organs was a failed attempt at organ trafficking. Like cutting people open for organs for either medical research or trying to save lives. Never panned out. He never actually cut into anyone. A book on occult biology with many dog-eared pages and notes scribbled. His attempt at growing everlasting crops that just never panned out because he always forgot to take into account various things about different crops, and the notes along the margins clearly detail what went wrong with every crop. Stickers like postage stamps. He tried to start his own postal service. It did not work. He got too many letters. Just could not deliver everything. And so the stamps are just kind of littered in sneaky places. And they smell of burnt rubber because he did try and destroy the letters for the insurance money. The stories of how he hypnotized people on stage. He did hypnotize people on stage as a circus act. We're actually all very shocked he wasn't at Cirque National when we took down the Beetle. Just about the only thing he's actually got going on in his life that's been a success, other than the Order of the Brilliant and the Beautiful, is Erica. He's actually managed to woo someone. We just need to get him to stop doing all of these dumb schemes. Does anyone have issue with that theory? Or thoughts to add to it?
It sounds like somebody's going to be giving him a stern talking to.
Yes, about the morals of London society and how to get an actual job.
That sounds great, and also like a very Whitmore thing.
It also should be a nice juxtaposition from what is going to happen with the Pinkerton.
True. True. Unless Erica punches you again, in which case, I don't know. I can't.
Whitmore will be ready for this. He's
Okay.
got a hatchet.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. Okay. All right. So we want to deal with this. So if there are no changes or tweaks or anything like that, I mean, so again, it's going to be down to a stern talking to. Is that what we're going to try to do?
Unless, Paul, you wanted to punch an influencer, because Dr. Klauser could very much be an influencer.
No, it's fine. If Whitmore is like, I'll handle it, Victor will just be like, yeah, that sounds fine to me. We have another guy that we can deal with. The less I have to interact with these people, the better.
Okay.
Very well.
So that is you can roll with a +1.
That is going to be a 9.
Okay. So you are right, but there could be some complications.
Yep.
Okay. Alrighty. Next. So, again, Pinkerton. You can try and resolve this with the clues on hand. Oh,
I've
all
added
right.
my extra clue there. It's a copy of the Prairie Farmer, which I guess is one of the oldest continually published magazines in the United States, originating in like the Midwest.
Okay.
But it's got words cut out of it, like it'd been
Interesting.
used to like make a coded letter or something like that.
Oh, nice. Okay. So definitely use that as a contextualized clue for sure. And yeah, so start talking. What do we think he's trying to pull while he's here in London? Obviously not just you because the bounty, but I mean, what is his big purpose here? Anybody have any ideas? Oh, the clues. Cigarette butt, finest American tobacco, and strange rolling papers. Name of a famous thief on the back of the Pinkertons' business card. Taggard is using a variety of currency to pay for things around town, none of them American dollars. Taggard is meeting with sex workers, but not for sex. A maid at the hotel is found dead. She was pushed out of a window, seemingly. And, of course, the copy of the Prairie Farmer with the words cut out. Okay? So that's 6 clues that you can use for a 4 complexity, if you can tie them all together. What do you
So
think?
my mind immediately goes to attempting to sell and or use a bunch of counterfeit money that had been printed in the United States. Um, I don't think any of the clues necessarily fill in what's happened across the pond, but I imagine it's like any good American heist and or crime story, in that it involves some form of technology or plates from the federal mint that have been stolen or copied or something like that. And so Taggart comes to London with a number of um, a lot of really good counterfeit money. Um, and we can kind of even see part of that. Yeah, so definitely because he's spending lots of different currencies around town. I think that points to that. I also think um, the cigarette butt with the fine American tobacco but strange rolling papers. I think that when you look at it like big picture, you can tell like, oh, these are scraps whatever treated paper he and whoever he's been working with have been using to print all these different kinds of counterfeit bills on. Um, and then both the meeting sex workers but not for sex and name of a famous thief on the back of his business card is just attempting to set up a network and spread word throughout the criminal network in London that like I have good counterfeit money, really good counterfeit money made across the pond. It's a good price. It's going to be gone soon, right? So like anyone that does crime, whether they're wanting the counterfeit money to do another crime with, or they're just like want counterfeit money to buy for like, 10 cents on the dollar. Um, I think that the maid at the hotel being found dead totally makes sense. Because Taggart clearly has a lot of evidence and probably like a suitcase full of counterfeit bills in his hotel room. And as we saw when Doc was captured, he's not doing a great job of concealing it. I think the only thing that kept Doc and Kenny from finding more at the hotel room was the fact that his room is just so messy. Um, and I guess that's also evidence that the maid was killed, maybe cleaning his rooms because his room never got cleaned. That's why it's so messy. Um, and I think the prairie farmer with the words cut out, I think that fits as like how he would be making messages, right? Coded messages to send along these criminal networks. It even fits kind of the theme as almost like an authentication because he's the American man, the American criminal coming to London with a bunch of counterfeit money made on like old Fort Knox printing presses. And you can tell it's him because you'll get a message for a buy with little words and letters cut out of an old American magazine.
Amazing. All right. That sounds good. So basically, you'd be rolling with a +2 at this point. So, any tweaks, objections, anything? So that's up to your roll. +2.
All right, 2d6 plus 2, fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Hey, that's an 11.
Okay.
What rolls today? Making up for that 4. By the way, I took in my notes, I double checked. It was a 4 that got me in prison.
Complications upon complications. I wasn't gonna. Yeah. Again, we have a line against any harm. So Kenny had plot armor. um. Okay. So, given that, with pretty decent rolls, and you're right on both counts, so this is good. What are you all doing for the upcoming night phase? I mean, obviously Doc is going to be doing some kind of adventuring because it's like we want to make sure he can do some, you know, shoot him up, beat him up, whatever you want. I'm happy to provide. We can make it fun and dangerous if you'd like. Um,
If we've locked in the Order of Azure Eyes as being kind of like a stern talking to,
mhm.
maybe the way to add a bit more panache and action to the resolution of the Pinkerton would be our plan to convince him to leave is to not just tell him, hey, we figured out what you were doing, we've caught you in your crime, but to literally jump him while he's in one of his meetings with London criminals to sell his counterfeit money. So we like bust in there, rough everybody up a little bit, and go, okay, Taggart, you're never going to sell counterfeit money in this town again. Everyone is going to be talking tomorrow about how your meeting to sell counterfeit money got jumped, and they're not sure if you set them up or if you just can't keep them safe, but your money's no good. I would go home.
If he doesn't get killed first, we'll see. Who knows?
Little
Um,
column A, little column B. That's not the right phrase. You get it.
oh yeah, oh yeah. And then with Order of Azure Eyes, how to complicate life. Who's dealing with that one, if at all?
Mm, I think it's Whitmore. And it's up to Paul if it's Whitmore alone or if you're up for
I,
violence.
I think because last like extended episode ended up being Victor a lot in the spotlight due to circumstances. I think having Whitmore have his own scenes and his own resolution just to showcase the character for this go around would be cool. So I think Victor will head to the Pinkerton instead.
Yeah, maybe you need a pincer movement because it's like you need somebody
Mhm.
to I guess spring the trap, I guess. Um
Yeah, well,
yeah.
there's by definition, there's like multiple criminals, right?
Oh
The
yeah.
plan with the Pinkerton works best the more people are at that meeting, and we
Oh
want to
yeah.
rough up all of them a little bit.
Well, maybe this is one of those things of like, maybe you two are keeping score. I mean, like how many people or can you take out at like, one go? Who knows? I'd be interested to find out. So we can totally do that. I just have to think about how I want to complicate Whitmore's life. Okay, great. Any I'm sorry, it's been a little bit, but don't think there's any Janus masks that need to be resolved. If I'm wrong, let me know. Um, because barring that, then I would introduce an unseen that we're going to be doing. Give me a second. I'm gonna pull that one up. So, to act as a foil for your exciting evening, we're going to do show at Tavistock Hall. Tavistock Hall was one of the earliest custom-built music halls in London. While the business started as a pub with a sideline and entertainers, they commissioned a space specifically for performances. The clientele sit at tables, cabaret style, and can drink and eat while watching a variety show. It is an affordable luxury for London's working class, and the crowd at Tavistock's is already lively as the show begins. Paint the scene is, of course, everyone. Okay, second prompt. Let's see. Let's go with Bob. Third prompt will go to Paul. And fourth prompt will go to Jeremy. So I figured out how to complicate Whitmore's life, and I just want to remind you all that the Mask of Catharsis is still on the table, still able to be used before the threat is resolved tonight. So, in case you need it. All right, so the unseen. Paint the scene. The audience make their way to their seats as the orchestra begins playing. Describe one of the audience members and how we can tell they have been looking forward to this evening. And this is a prompt for everyone.
Get things started. We see a man in what the members of Hargrave House would never consider a good suit, but what is this man's Sunday best? He's clearly of the working class, lower, potentially even lower stature than some of the acts he's about to see, but he's got a ticket and everything. He's chatting jovially with some of his colleagues, with some of the people around him. He's never been to Tavistock Hall and cannot wait, and keeps speculating about all the amazing things that they'll see tonight. His neighbors, people who've been here before and at least know one or two of the acts, just sort of smile and go along with it as his childlike wonder takes hold of them.
I think there's a big fan of the orchestra in the audience. She has been to many of these events. And I think how we know that is one of the orchestra members has a very particular hairstyle she likes to wear during show days, and this woman has imitated that exact same hairstyle in the crowd.
I'm imagining a single guy, which stands out amongst like what was largely little groups that have come together, who is clutching a clearly like heavily patched bowler cap and has heavily greased hair split or parted right down the middle, bordering on like alfalfa from Little Rascals. He's just like holding his bowler cap in his hand and starry eyed.
And we cut across town to Whitmore. Whitmore, I think you would have found Annabelle, who would have come upon you, like maybe as you were getting ready to come and see Dr. Klauser. She excitedly shows you a flyer that has been passed around around the group, the Order of the Bright and the Beautiful, saying it's like Dr. Klauser's planning on speaking with us tonight. He says he has a wonderful opportunity for us all. Are you going to come?
Whitmore would pull out his pocket watch, double check the time, as if he had planned this evening. You know, that sounds delightful. Do you know if it's at the clubhouse? Or is it at Dr. Klauser's office?
What did he say? Let's look at the flyer. And like, scribbled on the bottom, like it's crossed out. The salon is not where they're going to be meeting for tonight. It's actually in a warehouse that's near Klauser's office.
Quite the unusual meeting location. Just a warehouse?
I think
Does
I think he usually has that from when he really expects a lot of us to attend, but this seems even a lot more than the order. Maybe he has other groups that he's invited. He does talk about some very interesting things.
love to attend this evening. Though
Wonderful.
perhaps best to be on our guard if there are other members, not from the bright and the beautiful, that will be present.
I don't see why not, but if he says that it's going to be a wonderful opportunity, then I'm sure he'd want to spread the word around as much as possible. So exciting.
Absolutely. Oh, here's hoping it's not a multi-level marketing scheme.
Cut over to Victor and Doc. Maybe you've gotten word that Taggard's gotten a group together with no worries about Doc getting in the way because Doc is supposedly in jail. Then, yeah, maybe he's moved ahead with some of his plans. And there's talk of a big meeting that is happening in a different warehouse in a different part of town. But it, again, requires many, many people to attend. What are your plans?
I think Victor is just talking to Doc as we approach the meeting place and just goes, "All right, Doc, this is the night. I believe this man, Taggart, is your query. I'm just here to be as supportive as possible. Um, I will stay out of the way as much as I can. Um, Holler if you need me. I'll be nearby, but I'll let you do whatever you need here. I'll just be here just in case."
Well, Victor, I very much appreciate the emotional support, but
Mhm.
my plan to deal with
Yes.
Taggart actually is a little bit of what we do best. See, he's doing criminal dealings in London, and if we can get him excommunicated from the criminal community, I imagine he'll go home hat in hand, never to return.
Mm.
So, what we need to do is sneak into a warehouse and rough up, I would say, a dozen local criminals. And, the goal is to get Taggart to leave, not necessarily to hurt him, but if he gets hurt a little bit, that's also fine. Uh, and yeah, I really thought it was going to be a more complex plan, but now that I've laid it out, it's really just that. We need to sneak into a warehouse and
Hmm.
beat up like a dozen people.
Hey,
And I think that should solve the problem.
hey, and that's your plan. Completely fine. We can go with it. I'll take. I want to make sure that when Taggard goes back to the United States, your name is the one that gets said by everyone. Like, your legend grows. All right. My family, plenty of books already written about us. I don't need any more accolades. So I'll take down one or two people if you really need me to. But Doc, it's just a guy. Like, you can take down most of these people, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not super worried about it. Well,
No,
that's
for
kind of my
sure.
point too, is
Yeah.
I don't imagine that as obnoxious and insidious as Taggart is. I think of him more like a very vexing bureaucrat than a legendary monster or
Exactly.
dangerous foe.
Yes. So this is your night, Doc. You take the lead. I'll just be in the shadows.
All right, noted.
Mm-hmm.
I think we make our way to the warehouse, which it sounds like the new plan is for Doc to just go wild and with Victor there to make sure everything goes smoothly.
Basically, the plan is to fuck up criminals.
Yeah, this is gonna be like a comic book superhero, fill in the comparison there.
Or the first Batman movie. Okay, we'll see. All right, great.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Bob. Parson Clapp is a larger-than-life caricature of a rural clergyman performed by a male impersonator in a comical bit with jokes and bawdy songs. How does the act poke fun at the establishment?
Okay. I don't know how to explain this at length because I can't think of specific examples, but it's a style of joke very common in the theater of like his character, Parson Clapp, well, he's singing his songs, and every time one of his lines is supposed to elicit laughs, it always involves the mechanism of basically dramatic irony. So Parson Clapp is saying a particular thing or like railing against a particular type of behavior. Behind him, every other performer on stage in character is doing that exact thing that he's describing. Like we've made sure we've removed all witchcraft from the town and there are no more witches here. And then everyone behind him is like pretending to ride a broomstick. That's the bit, and they do it over and over and over. All of his songs are like the chorus behind him singing are doing that. That's his whole character. Is he is either easily fooled, generally slow on the uptake, and uh, just so interested in micromanaging people's lives that he constantly is missing the forest for the trees, and that is supposed to reflect a statement about the establishment in general, right? Like they're always trying to mess with their business. They always think they know what's going on, but they really don't ever know what's going on, and that's that.
So you make it to the warehouse. This is in a part of London that has a bank of warehouses, of course. I mean, great spaces, shadowed mostly with alleyways, but they are areas that are able to be used for storage and for, well, possible illegal activities or a simple meeting gathered by an influential person. I think as you and Annabelle approach, there are already people milling about, and some that look like they're going in. Things are dimly lit by candles or lamps, and I'm going to ask everyone to paint the scene here for the warehouse. What evidence do you see here that this is the culmination of Dr. Klauser's work to be successful?
There's a presentational area of this place, and there is a red carpet that leads up to it.
Sort of in precursor to that terrible 80s style of artwork. There are portraits of Dr. Klauser just looking regally into the distance, with a smash of him looking regally into the other distance.
I think that the table, there's like a table area where people are supposed to like sit around and like be in the meeting. And that table is so covered with adornments that are supposed to get across the air of gravitas, the what is it? The symbolism of the order itself. So like lots of eyes and um gold and silver embellishments and all that stuff. And there's so much of it, and it's so overdone that the table is almost too crowded for people to rest their arms on.
I think this is more of like the receiving table. There are a few special individuals, perhaps, that are allowed to sit near there, but then there are radiating um, arcs of seating, allowing people to filter in not only order the members of the order, the brave and the beautiful, but perhaps other people that he has invited from other places, other groups, or other people, perhaps, maybe patients of his, what have you. Um, I don't know if I don't know if you knew Whitmore, but Lord James Campbell Hughes was a patient at one point, and if you did know, then maybe you're looking in vain for him, but you do not see any signs of him. But you do see somebody familiar, looking a little confused in the audience. Would you take a guess about who you see there? Wearing a cloak of possibly
Yeah,
a iridescent material.
I was afraid this was gonna happen. So gonna guess someone like literally anyone else, but it's Melody.
Yes. I think she's sitting there by herself. She's wearing this cloak, and she sees you coming in with Annabelle, and she kind of, you see a smile on her face. It's like, oh, somebody familiar. And she will actually come over to you too, and then she'll be, oh, Mr. Whitmore. I wasn't necessarily expecting you to be here, but I suppose this is a gathering of all that is uh, interested in opportunity? I shouldn't be surprised, right?
So, of course, I'm more surprised to see you out too. Were you able to spend some time outdoors in the park thinking happy summer thoughts?
Yes, yes, but for some reason I kept on thinking of a winter scene, as if uh, I was looking upon a snow globe in my mind and shaking it about, and then seeing the snow flurry around the particular scene before I could see the scene no more, and then just snow. Strange dreams of late. uh, Regardless,
Once
how have you been?
I've been good, though it is worrying to hear you have such unseelie thoughts.
Oh, it's probably nothing. I mean,
Hmm.
just I was reading one of the latest adventures, which could be a
Yes.
reread. If I to be completely honest, it's like when Rosicrucius had engaged with the Winter Wolf of Ascalvad.
The Winter Wolf of Ascavad was such a delightful tale.
Yes,
I loved the fact that Rasha Crucius realized that this wolf was not a werewolf, but a vampire wolf, and used garlic of all things rather than a silver bullet to take out the wolf. It was such a genius way to look at things.
well, given what you've said about meeting Rosicrucius in person, I took the liberty of rereading the story,
Ooh.
and I think the writer was actually giving ironic thoughts that perhaps it was not Rosicrucius that had
You're saying
resolved?
that you're saying that his sidekick?
Yes, that's what it seems like. If you reread it, you'll be able to see.
I will need to reread that. I will
Oh,
need to
I'm
see
sorry.
it. No.
I'm Melody. I'm Melody Bain,
Oh,
and she's introducing herself to Annabelle, who's like next to you.
my apologies. Melody Bain, this is Annabelle. She is a member of the Bright and the Beautiful, and has asked that I join her in attending Dr. Klauser's presentation. But there's always room for you to join us. You've been
Absolutely. I mean, and Annabelle will actually
Mhm.
take Melody's hand and say, "Please join us. This promises to be a wonderful opportunity for us all."
Yes, though we will have to see if it is truly an opportunity for us all, or if it is just an opportunity for Dr. Klauser to speak at us rather than to us.
Your doubts are a little disturbing, Mr. Whitmore.
I'm,
I'm sure it will be enlightening.
I'm sure that seeing him speak in person will alleviate any doubts.
Of course. And she will lead you both to seats near to the front, of course.
Mhm.
And I think, yeah, I mean, after a little lull, I think Dr. Klauser will enter in. He is wearing his very fine suit, and he affects a monocle, and he looks quite dapper. He has a balding pate, but I mean, like, it doesn't ruin the effect of elegance and poise. And he has a soothing voice that he uses, speaking softly, evenly, but heard through this whole place. You can't tell whether it's like an acoustic thing or if it's just the presence and resonance of his voice, but there it is. And he will step out and then take a place at the head table, but he does not sit. He will look at each and every person that is attended, and then if you happen to look behind you, you realize all of the seats are filled. Like, not just order of Bright and Beautiful, but like, there's a ton of people that are here, and you're not sure what or why. And he will step out and look quite evenly at everyone and say, "Until we are able to see clear and blue, we are enslaved. From the moment we tumble from the cradle, society begins to cloud our vision, begins to make us lose sight of our true selves. We are all put in the little prison cells of our own minds, burdened by ancient expectations, by pain and regret. You too suffer from this clouded vision, this great psychic distraction. It's very plain to me, in fact. What I have here in this box will help us all see clearly and beyond." There is a very simple wooden box that is in front of him on the table, behind all of the adornments. And he slowly opens it with his long tapering fingers. And he will hold up what looks like a vial, but it is so tiny, but it sparkles like crystal. And inside it's like blue liquid. And he holds it up and he goes, "In this little vial is the key to our saving and our freedom. I can gift this to you all. Cutting over to Doc and Victor. You approach your warehouse, and it looks like it's empty, like it's abandoned. But maybe there's a tiny flicker of light, unnoticeable unless you actually look for it. From your different vantage points, whether you're on foot or on the rooftops, what do you see here that shows you this is a meeting of many different criminal organizations?
I think that by definition, from the street you can't see it, and with the untrained eye you can't see it. But if you know where to look for written symbols of thieves' cant, like signaling good places to rob, bad places to rob, whether a place is being staked out by a crew, if you know where to look for those, this building is absolutely covered. In every little shadowy corner, there's like a chalked glyph describing one particular organization or another's involvement, warning away, different lower levels of thief and stuff like that. It's just everywhere, written literally on the walls.
I think there are like different tables. Maybe some of them are like put together. But there is almost too many knives stabbed into the table.
I'm going to say from your different vantage points, you're able to see there's a gathering of different individuals, some cloaked, some with jackets and suits, others that just seem to lean slightly into the shadow and you cannot see their faces. And then there are catwalks, like along the edge, that people could conceivably look over any goods coming in or anybody coming in and out of this warehouse. And as these people and organizations and families gather, it's like they look towards the entrances and at each other, warily, suspiciously, but they are there for a purpose and they know it. And that purpose comes in the form of someone talking from the shadows up above one of the catwalks. Welcome, gentlemen. I appreciate you coming to see little old me. I just wanted to make sure that you knew about my wonderful opportunistic venture. I have the currency. I have the money. Question is, do you all? And some of them look towards the darkness and look above them and try. Oi! Why aren't you coming out? We need to see the goods. We're not going to be shoving any pounds your way, any quid, until we see what you got. Oh, that's something that'll be coming quite soon, youngster. I got a supply that you can all see and get a taste of before we can actually do some dealings. But just know that this bounty only goes to the highest bidder. Cheap for you all, I'm sure, but again, I need to make sure that I'm flush with cash. Paul, the Aldwych Amazons are a pair of twin sisters who have devoted themselves to athletics and bodybuilding. What feats of strength and endurance do we see them perform, and how do we see that they take pride in their bodies?
I think when they kind of come from off stage, there is kind of like shock from the audience because the outfits they are wearing aren't very London. They're closer to what circus performers would wear. So a lot of arm, a lot of like clavicle. I don't think there's like cleavage just yet since we're still in Victorian times. Maybe a little bit, just enough to where some parents would think about closing the eyes of the children in the crowd. But one of them is in like these deep purples, and the other one um is in like this like very flamboyant red outfit, and both of them are wearing masks. And music starts to play as they enter the stage, and I think they have an argument with each other. One of them saying how much stronger she is, and the other one arguing against that, and both of them decide that this is the night to prove who is stronger. And then one of them just runs forward, clotheslines one of them. The person that gets clotheslined stands back up and runs towards her twin and drop kicks them to the ground. The other twin falls so hard, she kind of like leans back, is on her like head for a moment as she falls that hard, and lands on the ground, prone. And this match keeps going, and we know that they take pride in their bodies because neither of them are actually getting that hurt. That clothesline was incredibly telegraphed. Another person just falls as she gets hit by it. The drop kick is barely missed, but the other person sells it really hard to the crowd. The feat of physical prowess in and of itself in that moment is the selling of the drop kick, because that's much harder than what the other person did. And it just goes back and forth until in the final moment, the woman in red grabs the twin in purple by the throat. The woman in red kicks hard at the ground, jumps into the air just to sell this final move, and gets slammed into the ground seemingly, but the twin in purple makes sure they land softly on the ground as she drops them, as seeming as hard as she can. And then the curtains close and there's applause.
Back at the presentation by Dr. Klauser, he holds up the vial, the crystal vial with the brilliant blue liquid, and then he invites those in the audience to give testimonial about the benefits of this miracle, this opportunity that he has shared with them. And there is a woman who looks quite frail, walks a bit silently out of the shadows, and she is swathed in shawls, but very colorfully put together. Like, you can tell even from just her clothing, without even looking at her paint-stained hands, that is she is an artist, and she identifies herself. I am Iris Amerot, and my art has been transformed thanks to the doctor. Shedding the past was painful and cost me everything, but it was worth it. By taking the azure liquid, by putting my investment in its creation, I am so much better. I have sold so much, and I have the doctor to thank for it. She sits down, and then someone else talks about the books that they've written, and then another one sits down. Another one rises up and talks about their success in their business, and so on and so forth. And the doctor's nodding. After all the testimonials, then he will bring out the pitch. You too can consider this an opportunity to invest in not only your future, but also the future of the rest of you. Consideration, communication, all within our community. And all I need from you is the willingness to be one, to be the advocate, and to be the ambassador of this beautiful concoction. I call it the Azure Lady, and with a small investment of your time and your money, you can too spread the word about its beneficial properties.
Whitmore's going to take this call to action as an opportunity to sort of stand up, step away from Melody and Annabelle to distance the accusation he's about to level from potential innocent bystanders, and just call out to Dr. Klauser, voice echoing in this full chamber of almost dead silence. How do we know that those testimonials weren't from those that you've hypnotized? You are a famous hypnotist.
He brings his measured gaze onto you, Whitmore, and it's almost like he's using his eyes to bore into yours. And who are you, sir, to make claims about my past when I'm sure you have not let go of yours? I am merely stating a fact about the benefits. Nothing more.
Dr. Klauser, I am simply a man who surrendered everything, his family, his hopes, his dreams for someone else already. And you know what that got me? It got me a small room in a house with a man who I'm not even sure knows my first name. I have been scorned and burned by those who would offer such illustrious, such titillating and tantalizing promises and prophecies as you. And so I do challenge you. Why is this liquid any different than tap water with a bit of sparkling substance in it?
Ah, disbelief. It is the first obstacle, and perhaps the greatest, to break down. I invite you then, sir, to come up and enjoy a taste of its truth and benefit for yourself. You too can laud this miracle once you taste of it. And he will hold up the vial and, hold it out closer to you.
Whitmore will walk with purpose to the center of the room and take the vial. Smell it once and down the entire thing.
Night move, please. What do you think will go wrong if you fail or lose your nerve?
I think Whitmore ends up selling this something about this cure-all, this miracle, actually, at least for a moment, transfixes Whitmore, and he ends up turning to the crowd and proclaiming that it is, in fact, exactly what Dr. Klauser says it is. His eyes permanently changed to an azure blue.
I think by combination of the hallucinogenic properties of this stuff, which you don't know what it is, as well as his hypnotism, I think he's going to pretty much call you a thrall and have you pretty much be its greatest advocate. Bringing other people into the fold, for sure. So composure, because you have to hold steady for this.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Given
Oh wait,
all,
do you have a thingy? Give me a
I
second.
do have a condition.
Okay, yeah.
Nauseatingly ecstatic.
You're also concussed, so I mean, like, what kind of
A little
count
bit.
that as part of the condition? You're at disadvantage unless you can pull something from your quarters to help you with this.
We
To
talked a little
neutralize it.
bit. We talked a little bit of a little bit of verbal back and forth about the past and about everything Whitmore has given up already.
Mhm.
And we know that that's the contents of this little medium teak box underneath his bed. It's everything he's given up. His family, his hopes, dreams, the little bookshop that he worked at and loved. His first name, for God's sake. Everything given up because someone made a promise that Whitmore thought they could keep. He's not going to let these people make the same, not mistake, decision that he did.
You're powering through that, so consider it a straight roll with composure, please.
Check that die every time to see if it's a 1 or a 6, but that's a 12.
Nice. I will see that the resolution of this in a second. Let's go back to the other warehouse. Maybe from your vantage point, Doc, and possibly Victor, maybe you can make out the silhouette of Taggart, like hiding out in the catwalk. He's got to get away. He's got a way out, and but he's going to create like some sort of spectacle to be able to show off like all the counterfeit currency that he's got that he can distribute. But again, he's going to call an auction for this stuff. What do you want to do? And you've got all these people here. This is a lot. This is like, some criminal families here. There's some criminal organizations like, that's got their reps here. Yeah. It's a bit.
Well, Victor, you tell me if you think this is a good plan. This is a bit beyond my normal scope. Let's say we lock everybody in this warehouse, and then you throw open the door. I'll ride in on Calliope right into the middle of all those folks, and then jump off and start walloping everybody. We just got to make sure Taggart doesn't escape. I think that's key to the plan. People got to see him there while I'm busy walloping everybody.
Doc, this is your night. I'll do whatever is needed. I'll lock all the doors.
Okay, perfect. At the very least, got to make sure that Taggart's way out is blocked. He can't get out until everyone's gotten a good knockabout the head. Then all I need you to do is throw open the warehouse door.
Sounds good. Lock the doors.
So I think as Taggart's making a big show of presenting the money, I think, yeah, I mean, you can see that he's created some sort of pulley system that nobody else can see because he's staying quite in the dark, and he's ready to activate this to pull him out of harm's way, once he makes the deal. So, um, this is dangerous. I'm gonna just like fold it in right into a night move, um, for you, Doc, especially. But I mean, like, if you want to activate any moves of your own, Victor, you can totally do so. But for Doc to do this crazy risky thing, I want you to tell me what could go wrong if you fail or lose your nerve.
Oof, that is a good question. I think Calliope could get hurt. I think that's my biggest worry, honestly.
Yeah, that is. Hold on. Does she have plot armor? That's the other question. Domestic animals, yes, she does. So, I mean, like, that's not going to happen. We won't let it happen.
Mhm.
But, I mean, I'm going to say that you could conceivably be overwhelmed by the criminal element that's all around here. They could surround you
Mhm.
and take you down.
That
And,
makes sense.
yeah, like, kill any evidence of anybody that could, oh, I don't know, tattle to the cops, to the bobbies and such. And Taggart will get away scot-free. I'm going to say vitality, of course, is going to carry you into this. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people that you're going to be trying to rough up here. So,
Mm.
yeah.
Now, from our outside vantage, you described a pulley system that Taggart is using. Were we able to like seal up the exits? Do we feel like even if he's able to get back onto the balcony, that he's not going to be able to escape the building? Because if we're not sure about that, then that'll be my target when I ride in. If we're fairly certain that we've stopped Taggart from just running away, then I'm just going to ride directly into this group of people and start walloping them.
Yeah, I'm just going to call it a night move for Victor because it's like, not only are you trying to make sure that you've sealed the doors, but like, maybe like, you've also spotted Taggart's getaway scheme with the police system. So I'm going to call it night move to try and make sure to disable that to make sure he can't get away. But what do you think will happen if you fail or lose your nerve, Victor?
I think Victor just gets spotted by one of the criminal people, and then he'll just have to just start fighting.
Oh, okay, I got it. The way it's worse is that not only will you'll be spotted and you'll have to start fighting, but I think you're going to be fighting against a particular criminal element that has a grudge against you, specifically
Hmm.
because you either injured them or took out a member of their family in your
Hmm.
zeal to take down a monster.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's going to make it doubly dangerous because they're out for revenge. Fabulous. Um, yeah, so this would be 2d6. You
Mm,
have no conditions, so 2d6 plus vitality since you're trying to do a lot of physical things.
okay. I would like to use
Mm-hmm.
this one will be the least useful later, but the bag of cold meat. Basically, um, it's just gonna be like there's Victor sneaking around. People don't believe that this actually happens in the real world or in our fictional real world, but you should never underestimate just tossing a weird object into the middle of the room to have people investigate it and just like sneaking by. So then there's just like a scene of a bag appearing on the floor. A couple toughs are just like, is that a bag of meat? What's that doing here? And then um, Victor will sneak by. Um, and yeah, so it's just helping his sneaking.
Okay. I'm sorry, Doc. Did I ask you to do the roll? Because I didn't write it down.
No, no. Do you want me to do the vitality roll?
Yes, please. And then I'll get Victor's roll because I want to see how this
Mm.
pans out.
Okay, that'll be vitality with advantage because of the quickening.
Yes.
Oof. Ah. Okay, wait, that's not the end of the world, right? That's a 7.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's not
Okay.
the end of the world, but your life is going to
It's
about to
just
get
whenever,
complicated.
whenever you're doing rolling with advantage and you see any number like a single digit, the heart begins to falter.
Of course.
All right. And then my roll.
Yes.
It's also okay. It's a 9.
Okay. Complications. All right, awesome. Whitmore, when you imbibe the iridescent blue liquid, I think it goes down alternately like a burning shot, but also frozen through with some kind of frostbitten cold that you've never felt on your tongue before. This is essentially a neurostimulant designed to make you more susceptible to Dr. Klauser's hypnosis. He seems to have perfected the formula. However, something about you, makes you more aware. It has heightened your senses to the point of you are very aware of what he's doing, even though you can see him doubled, tripled, imaged, and you can hear his echoey voice telling you, whispering to you, saying it's like you should give him your money and your time and your attention to be able to tout this material. But what are you seeing instead? What are you hearing instead as you break through his nattering of control? Is there a memory that you're thinking of that is helping you block this?
I think it's the last time. I think, yes, there's a memory. I think Dr. Klauser has been superimposed into this memory. Another lifetime ago, at another tipping point of desperation for Whitmore, another man came up to him at a moment when he'd lost a loved one and told him, "You owe us money." And I think Whitmore gets taken back to the day of his wife's funeral, where instead of the priest who performed the funeral rites informing Whitmore that money was owed and could be paid at the church, it's Dr. Klauser. Instead of rosary around his neck, it's a silver chain, this glass vial at the bottom. Instead of a collection plate, it's a pocket watch held simply in the hand. And unlike that memory, Whitmore's not just standing there, numb to the world. Whitmore would look into the crowd gathered at this funeral that happened one, maybe even 2 lifetimes ago. And in the crowd, he would see Joshua Cross. He would see Melody Bain. He would see Abigail, whose last name I cannot remember right now. He would see Victor Armstrong. He would see Dr. McBain. He would see Lord James Campbell Hughes. He would see Father O'Donnell. He would see everyone that this new life has let him help. And to the rest, I think to the rest of the room gathered here with its pageantry, with its ceremonial knickknacks, with its red carpet rolled out, the hush as the crowd waits to see if Whitmore opens his wallet. Whitmore instead opens his mouth, puts a finger up, and just places one finger in front of Dr. Klauser's face as if to shush him. And does so. Shh. No. You can't just sell people false hopes and tingling water and expect them to give you everything. And Whitmore would just turn to the crowd. No. I'm sorry that you have been brought here under false pretenses. Dr. Klauser has some fantastic ideas. He really does. But not about this. If you truly love him without this miracle elixir, then truly love him for who he is. And Whitmore would try and find Erica's eyes as he says this. But if you're just here because you think that there's some miracle cure to that little missing spot in your heart, to put on a better show for everyone else around you. There isn't. It doesn't, I'm sorry, there is. It just doesn't come from a small blue vial, from a drink of blue elixir. In the words of a con man, it comes from in here. And Whitmore wouldn't be pointing at his heart. Well, physically he would be, but he'd be pointing at a small teak box full of hopes and dreams of a man he never was.
Cut over to the other warehouse. I think the plan has gone a little awry. And I'm going to have each of you kind of know where there's a problem. I'm going to say, Victor, you catch a glimpse of a hooded figure and you realize it's Cyrus. And then Doc, I think, as you're getting ready to plunge into the warehouse with Calliope, I think you realize something's not right. So I'm going to ask each of you a detail before we get into the fray. What, just as you begin your foray into the warehouse or locking up things to make sure that Taggard doesn't get away, Doc, what do you see that worries you into thinking this is not going to go well? What do you see?
Maybe like from all the alleys around the warehouse, I see like cats running away as if they're abandoning the warehouse.
Boy. And then Victor, having spotted Cyrus, what makes you think that there is something off as Doc enacts his plan?
I think we have a line on that. So
Ooh.
instead of Cyrus being in danger, I think Cyrus is just giving him like get the heck out of there. Like
Oh,
it's
yeah, that's
not
fine.
like
Yeah.
it's not it's much worse than you think is happening in there. He's just there knowing that Victor and Doc are coming and
Right.
is just being like it's bad. No, no, like it's so much worse than you
Okay.
think. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Mhm.
Alrighty. Yeah. So, I mean, like, maybe he's giving you the signal and then he's booking it out of there as well. I think there's a smell in here. I think there is a particular smell that maybe Doc recognizes from his heightened senses. There is someone else here, maybe a little bit like you, Doc. Criminal families, like, have secrets of their own, so
Hmm.
I think this is complicating things a little bit more than you expected. And you realize this as you plunge in there with Calliope and, uh, make your way to, I guess, expose Taggart and try to, you know, um, play this off. I'm gonna say this is night move for the both of you. All right, because I think one of the families is a little bit more than human. So, and it's
Hmm.
going to turn into a bad piece of chaos, depending on how you roll. What are we afraid will happen? Will go wrong if you fail and lose your nerve?
I think it's a continuation of what I was worried about last time, or the situation was last time, which is like I could get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But in this particular instance, it has more detail. I could get overwhelmed because I have an idea that there's someone in here that's a little bit more dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And my hope is I can at least wallop enough regular people before I run into them or they start running into me, that like I don't have the full crowd of people also to worry about when I have to face off against this more dangerous person.
Okay.
And the worry is I'll get overwhelmed because like the first person I try to swing a punch at is this more dangerous person who is going to take up a lot more of my attention. And then I'll have not walloped anyone in the room and have literally everyone to deal with all at once.
Yes. I'm going to say like maybe it's a pack that
Mhm.
you're going to be dealing with rather than just one individual. Because that's what you smell, right? Okay. So that would be with vitality, and again, I believe it still carries you with advantage because of the quickening.
hmm Okay, let's see how this one goes. Okay, there we go. Phew, that's a 10.
Nice. Okay. Victor, you are also in danger as well. I'm gonna continue on like what? Well, actually, like do you think there's something else that'll go wrong if you fail or lose your nerve?
Yeah, I think Victor Victor's concern here isn't like being overwhelmed or bodily harm. I think because Cyrus is here, his concern is Victor has like given Cyrus like knives, shown them how to like run across rooftops silently. That's all in good fun. It's still very appropriate for children his age, at least Victor, to have these things. But what Victor doesn't want him to know just yet, to still have that kind of like childlike naivete, is like if Victor, if this goes bad, then Victor will have to fight seriously, and Cyrus will have to see like a man like calculatedly and coldly like just take down these people as efficiently as possible. And Victor doesn't feel like a child this his age should see that just yet.
Actually, Cyrus is a full grown adult.
Oh, which one's
Kid
Cyrus again?
Cyrus is the guy in white. Like he was the um what to say, like not a beggar or anything like that, but he kind of had street smarts.
Oh, I thought he was. I've always thought he was a kid
No, no,
from.
no. I mean, as far as I remember from the description, I believe he was an adult. Yeah.
Oh.
Hold on. Let me just go ahead and find the thing real quick, just because it's like like I
Was
was I
it
was thinking about like the line on it, and I'm like, I don't think
I thought he was a
it's
child.
that.
I've this whole time I thought he was
Well,
a kid.
Kenny's the child. Kenny's the child
Okay.
that you meet in the
Yeah.
Saint Cecilia's mystery. But let me just pull this up real quick. Here we go. All right, so mask and dangers, locations. Okay, side characters. Here we go. Father Donald, Father Viceroy, Kenny Philbright. Kenny Philbright is the rowdy child,
Oh.
and
Yeah.
then Cyrus is a beggar. That's what I meant to say. A blue
Oh.
morning glory on his chest, rides a borrowed red bicycle,
Yeah.
clean, bright, white, new pair of shoes. Yes.
Oh. That's on me then. This whole campaign, I thought he was like a street rat situation. So like less Oliver Twist, more like Aladdin
Yeah,
is.
yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but I
Okay.
mean, he knows like again street smarts, like knows like the
Mm-hmm.
local urchins and stuff, which is why
Okay.
he lined them up, for you
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff like
yeah.
that. Right.
I see, I see. Okay. Then yeah, no. Victor is concerned that he will have then in that case it's different then. He'll still like Victor's used to it, but he'd rather not do it to people he knows
Mm-hmm.
because he still doesn't like seeing the look on their faces when it happens. But Victor will be concerned that he will have to use like Cyrus as like a distraction to kill everyone here and have to see Cyrus like, like the look of betrayal that the great families have to see when people realize that they are at a certain extent if they have to be tools to them, then yeah, it's not pleasant to Victor at the very least.
Yeah. I'm gonna say the way it's worse is that it's like, maybe like, you didn't suspect it, but then Cyrus is like, it's just business, boss. And yeah,
Very good.
betrays you
Yeah.
for sure. Okay, so go ahead and roll. Mhm. Vitality, because like, again, it's like you're sensing you're going to have to get through some physical stuff to make this work.
All right. Since there are werewolves here, will the use of my hatchets be open to that, or is it mostly just people here?
Well, I mean, like,
just ma-
there's partially like some supernatural things here, but there's a very high likelihood you're going to run into the werewolves themselves. So, I mean, like,
So,
if you want to call that for a supernatural
okay,
dealing, you totally can.
cool, cool. I was just wondering, just in case. All right.
Yeah.
I will just roll this straight. Oh, I think I might have to use it. It is a, it is a 6.
Please use it. Oh my God.
Um,
Does that give you an unqualified success or just raise it up a tier? I forget.
I think, I think it just raises it up a tier. So,
Okay.
so yes, it's a bigger clusterfuck than Victor expected.
Yeah.
So he will need to fight seriously, and I will mark one of my uses of the hatchets.
Yeah, you'll need to narrate a flashback showing one of your ancestors destroying a monster of that same type using the weapon. Yep. Okay, so 7 to 9. Okay, so let's get to the last of this, which is Jeremy. Sartini, the superlative, is an illusionist whose performances inspire wonder in the audience. What about his act demonstrates he may have some real knowledge of mystical traditions?
Sardini the Superlatives show begins with a loud gong hit that sort of reverberates and echoes, but the stage remains empty. The spotlight would turn up to the high balcony as we see Sartini sitting in a chair, meditating. He begins to get up and walks down across the hall through the air onto the stage. What the audience doesn't see is the pulleys and contraptions holding him up. That isn't the part of the show that he tries to. That is a part of the show that he tries to drum up his powers. His real magic comes from the fact that he calls out to an audience member by name and asks them specifically to come to the stage to speak. And he asks them questions, specific questions about their family members, about things that it would be impossible for someone to know. Well, that is, unless you knew the mystical art of find out who bought tickets to the show and have someone follow them for a couple of days. The mystical traditions that Sartini the Superlative follows are, in fact, the criminal arts. It's not magic, it's not mysticism, it's just be sneaky, find things out. And so while he wows and woos the audience, and everyone's left speechless, wondering how he's done it, it's clear that Sartini is just a man, a very good man, an almost supernatural man, but just a man.
I feel like I see him walking off in the shadows, and it's like I hear some kind of like whistling theme song follow. It's very odd. All right. So, Whitmore, take us home. What does this look like as Dr. Klauser thinks that he has a drop on you, but then, you make that speech. You reach out to Erica through your eyes, and she will go to Annabelle and whisper, "I'm tired of surfing a lie. I would like to be with you and experience my truth. And Annabelle's like a little bit overcome because, like, this is out of nowhere. But she will nod and they will kind of go off um, out of the warehouse after looking at Dr. Klauser and watching his face fall, realizing that you're not falling under his sway. Whatever concoction was in that stuff, it did not work on you like it worked on the others. And he's losing a little face here. How do you put the last nail in the coffin, Whitmore?
Whitmore would come up to Dr. Klauser, as I assume he's kind of standing there stunned that
Yeah.
his girlfriend's partner just A came out of the closet in public, and B dumped him for his subordinate.
There's a lot of murmuring in the
Yeah.
audience now that you
No,
can hear.
Whitmore would get behind him and just sort of whisper in his ear, perhaps seeing the world through azure eyes isn't what you should be doing. You truly have the power to make this world, this city, a better place. But, Dr. Klauser, these people are not the way to do it. There are true threats in London. Please, do not become one. And as Whitmore says this, poetically, I'd like Melody to take a step up onto the stage and pull out a pocket watch and force Dr. Klauser into behaving. If Melody can just swing the pocket watch while Whitmore whispers in his ear.
I think she will. I mean, maybe it's something that she's only half aware that she's doing, but she's taking cues from you, Whitmore. And she has this particular pocket watch that has symbols on it, and then even as it swings, I think you even realize that it seems to be very entrancing on its own. And yeah, I mean, like, even Dr. Klauser will be like, kind of still, he would start to splutter, but then fall under its sway as he's listening to you speak. And in the meantime, everybody else has kind of like got up from their seats, murmured amongst themselves, and just kind of looked back and left, started leaving, you know. And it's just you, Melody, and Dr. Klauser.
As Dr. Klauser falls for the hypnosis, Whitmore will turn to Melody, explicitly not looking at the pocket watch, probably making too much eye contact to avoid it. Miss Bain, no, Melody. It's not often that I am free to make my own requests. I'm normally beholden to the good of the house, to Lord James Campbell Hughes, to Doc McBain, to one of the Armstrongs, whoever's in need. But I've neglected two people who I think are in need the most. Both of those people are on this stage. Melody, I would like to make you a promise and ask for a favor. I promise that we will do everything in our power to keep you safe in the upcoming scuffle with, and he just sort of points and gesture to the coat, implying things that he doesn't quite understand. And second, a favor. Once we do get you out, would you like to come write an adventure novel with me? You and I, the heroes of our own story. I have a feeling that Lord James Campbell Hughes is going to need some assistance, and I cannot think of someone with a better grasp of the supernatural and what we might face than you.
I don't know what to say, Mr. Whitmore, that to either of these things.
You don't need to say anything to the promise. It is something we have to do first. Have to do first.
Just let me know how I can help. How you really think I'm in danger?
I don't believe that a coat that can't be taken off is anything good. And I believe that Tatiana, Peas Blossom, Cobweb, and Puck all mean to do London some form of terrible, terrible danger.
All we can do is face it. Face it together. Yes?
Yes.
And I'm going to switch over to the other warehouse as chaos ensues. I think the the showing of the currency, the impromptu interference with Doc, cries of betrayal, and I think this is where everybody finds out exactly which crime family has a bigger secret that they've been hiding. As immediately before it happens, Doc, you smell that wet dog smell that occurs with these shapeshifters, and they break out of their clothing and then, they start tearing apart into anyone. It is unfortunately, I believe, a full moon. They were trying to hold themselves back as much as they could, but the stress of the situation has just made it nuts. So, Victor, please tell me how this is complicated, whether it be your injury or a Doc's injury, something. I mean, how you get tripped up, and then Doc, tell me how you are using your abilities to mitigate the fray.
I think that Doc, if we're talking about different types of half animal people, different types
Yes,
of
different from you.
shapeshifters, I think that what Doc has not going for him is likely in a direct brute force fight. Doc isn't coming out on top against the shapeshifter that's started to go bonkers. What Doc does have on his side is being generally more agile, and so I think Doc is using that to and you described it as though the werewolf has just started going feral, like isn't necessarily beelining for Doc, but is attacking everyone around him. So using that and the fact that Doc is really quick and is not feral, I think what Doc is doing is just keeping the entire crowd between him and the werewolf, so that by the time it's just him and the werewolf, or by the time the werewolf is, it's kind of unavoidable. Like the werewolf is going to see Doc and is going to come mouth foaming, charging towards him. There's going to be almost no regular people left, whether those are people Doc has hopefully knocked out and the werewolf has stepped over, or those are people that the werewolf has torn into pieces. There isn't going to be a lot else for Doc to worry about. By the time Doc has to worry about the werewolf, it's just going to be worrying about the werewolf. Yeah, lots of bobbing and weaving through the crowd and hitting people in the back of the head and throwing people into other people. Very nimble.
And as Doc is taking care of this to try and, stop this particular werewolf, I think other members of their family have started to change as well and, have caused some kind of ruckus as they will sent out Taggard's sphere, I think, and will try and get at Taggart. What do you do, Victor?
I mean, if there are criminal werewolves in London, Victor's already here, so he might as well deal with them. Um, and I think because of Doc's condition, he senses it a lot faster than Victor does. I think Victor more gets the hint of what's about to happen right before it does, so he can at least prep for it. But Doc that's his more keen, specific sense gave him the ability to just like to do what he's doing right now. But Victor was about to engage like three of these men, and they all begin to shift into these like werewolf beings. And Victor goes, "Oh, and then one of them picks him up by the throat and just like slams him down. I think we hear like a snap in his back, and when he gets up, he like kind of looks up and looks down at his left arm, just like limply at his side, just like, oh, well, all right. One arm is not as good as two, but I can make do. Um, and with the move, we see a similar scene to one of Victor's ancestors. I think is this um, very short, stout man with like a very bushy beard. Um, Definitely someone that seems to just live in the woods and less in the castles that Victor grew up in, and how the hatchets are made to take down these kinds of creatures. Because at the end of the day, where creatures have a very like humanoid shape, two legs, two arms, they're not as built. They're not built like other animals where they're like designed to like stay on their legs, not to be knocked down. Those animals are built physically for that. Humanoid shapes not as much, and hatches are great. They're not the most accurate weapons in the world, but they do have like a hooked shape to them. So what they're really useful for, whether they're fighting werewolves or fighting just like regular people, is that they can really dig in to parts of the body and can throw off people's balance. So we can see his ancestors smaller and stouter, but as the werewolf comes in, he pierces their like armpit and like pulls them down to the ground and rolls them, and it takes them down with like one hit while they're on the ground. And then we cut back to Victor, who does the exact same thing. Makes like rolls the werewolf onto the ground and then just smashes the hatchet again and again and again onto the head just for safety. Another one comes, he rolls underneath a blow, grabs them by the back of the knee, pulls them down like again, kind of just it's not like fluid or pretty, but it's efficient. They're down on the ground, same thing, axe the head over and over. And the last one, is kind of stunned for a moment. Victor doesn't hesitate, runs up, jumps into the air, and brings it down onto the head again, onto the ground. Same action 4 times on the ground, dead. And Victor is just there, panting heavily, looks down at his arm, and goes, "Not as boring of a night as I thought it was gonna be."
Is it broken or dislocated?
Like nerve damage, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, numb arm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is your condition, yeah. Taggard's tangled up in the pulleys as he was trying to get away, but then he got freaked out because of the werewolves there. Everybody else is dispersed, scattered, or been taken out, unfortunately. I think, Doc, you come upon Taggart like hanging there uselessly, trying to extricate himself from his entanglement. What do you do? What do you say?
Bet you wish you'd stay home now, huh?
Get me down from here!
Does it look
I
like
didn't bargain on this. Madhouse of animals.
You got on the boat, bud. I'm looking to see if I can like cut him down. Is there like does the police system anchor somewhere nearby?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I cut him down and let him down at a safe speed about 3/4 of the way and then just drop him so he falls on his butt.
Ah,
Stuck your nose where it didn't belong, Taggart.
it's for profit. Of course.
That worked out so well for you.
It would have. If I'd known it was going to be all twisted up like this. Ugh.
You would have stayed, huh? Back over in the States. I mean,
It was getting slim pickings. What can I say? Trying to expand my horizons.
well, as you can see clearly, the grass is not always greener. And I can't imagine that you'll be very welcome in London crime society if you ever show your face around here again. Not to mention, I don't like you, not as far as I can throw you.
That's good and fine. I'm going to throw myself out because this has just been. And he's just like spitting out, and it's unintelligible because he's just shocked at what he saw and how chaotic it got. Be that as may, I'm never coming back here again.
Suits me.
Victor walks up. And yeah, leave your belt and your shoes.
What?
Leave your belt.
You heard him.
Leave your belt and your shoes, man.
Belt and shoes on the ground.
Fine. I need passage. I need my money to be able to get out of here.
Did we ask you if you needed passage? We asked you for your belt and your shoes.
Just put your belt and your shoes on the ground. Make your way to the port. There'll be a ticket waiting for you. I'm sure I can get it arranged.
Snorts, takes off his belt and shoes, and then pretty much hightails it out of there.
Victor, why did you ask Taggart to take off his belt and shoes?
I don't know. Felt like appropriate.
I mean, I can't think of a thing that would make him even more confused than he was, but if anything could, that would do it.
Do you ever leave the house forgetting your belt? You have a terrible day. Like the rest of the day. It's like it's bothersome.
You're truly an inspired mind, Victor.
Yes.
We should keep getting out of here too. I don't want to have to deal with all of that.
So I think we close out of this very weird scene with you two's blood spattered and such, and Taggart's shoes and belt on the ground. Ending montage music, and then we're going to go into mechanical stuff. Closing out night phase into dawn. Collect rewards. So I'm just going to list this up, and then we'll see what you want to take. For Order of Azure Eyes, Dr. Klauser's journal, add it to your personal quarters, and the rest of it is all mementos from the investigation. You would ask another hunter what it is, and then add it to your personal quarters. If you want to lay claim to the journal or a memento, please think about it, speak up. And for Taggart's 1848 Baby Dragoon, add it to your personal quarters. One of Taggart's side knives, an adder carved on the handle, add it to your personal quarters. And a memento from the investigation are the rest of the rewards. Just ask another hunter what it is and then add it to your personal quarters. So,
I'm not saying I get first claim to the Pinkerton Dragoon in this context. Is it a
Gun.
knife? A gun? I think you get first crack at Pinkerton. It's gotta be.
Ooh. I've got to go for the Colt Dragoon revolver.
yeah,
I've just gotta.
just gotta.
That
All right.
looks so cool.
Taggard's 1848 Baby Dragoon. Anybody want the side knife? Or do you want a memento?
That's
I
all
think
your.
I think I'll take the memento, and I'll ask Doc for the memento.
Uh, I'm stuck because you said the phrase werewolves in London. Now I'm stuck thinking of Warren Zevon. So have you ever seen a photo of him on a lot of his albums? He has like these kind of like small circular purple sunglasses on. So a pair of sunglasses that looks just like that from one of the werewolves before they changed. It, like popped off their head as they were changing. So a pair of
Amazing.
small circular purple glasses.
Nice.
A knife doesn't feel very Whitmore. I will also take a memento. And I'm sorry to put you back on the spot, Bob, but it feels like I have to ask our American.
Let's say the remainder of Taggart's hand-rolled cigarettes using paper from counterfeit bills.
Oh my god, amazing. Cool. Okay. Back to Dr. Klauser and the Order of Azure Eyes.
I've
So
missed
does...
an incredible opportunity to give someone Taggart's belt and shoes.
Exactly.
I haven't finished typing that if you would like to
No,
give those.
it's somehow funnier if they're just, we don't even pick them up.
No.
If in the shot, he just puts them on the ground and then
Yes!
Victor and Doc walk away.
Yes! Oh my god. Well, you did pick up the gun, so I mean, like, you know, that's from his belt, and it's
Yeah, we
fine.
pulled that off the belt, put the belt back down.
Put the belt back down. Yeah, yeah. Does anybody want Dr. Klauser's journal?
It's influencer propaganda nonsense. It has no Whitmore. It's rubbish. Whitmore
Okay.
doesn't want any of it.
Sure. Okay, so then in which case, you know, you would each ask each other for a memento from the investigation and then put it in your personal quarters. You can even ask me too. I mean, like, if you want, that's fine.
Jeremy, what's the memento from the investigation that Victor gets?
Victor would get the brass knuckles that Erica wore when she punched out Whitmore.
Oh god.
Because you opened the door and gave us the opportunity, I have to ask you, Mads,
Mm-hmm.
for a memento from the investigation.
I think you do get... There was another vial in the box. But this is one that you would apply to your eyes. I'm actually going to... I'm going to, like, put in the full doodad in your
Perfect.
in your personal quarters because it's a bit of a thing.
Small dropper bottle holding a liquid of iridescent blue. The first time a hunter applies a few drops to their eyes, they take the condition Azure Eyes, and it uncovers additional clues. The condition naturally clears itself the next dawn.
You might find it comes in handy.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yes.
And then, Paul, I guess I'm asking you, what is a great memento I got from this investigation?
I had an idea for Whitmore, but I think I can kind of turn it around for Doc. I think without the Society for the Bright and Beautiful, some of these Londoners are like now lost. They don't know what to really latch on to. They're kind of just like vapid, like rich people looking for something to do. So I think they would like to explore like Americana and American culture. So for your and they've heard of this American that's been making his way throughout London, doing a lot of exciting things people have heard. So you get a cadre of socialite followers.
Oh my
Wow.
Love it. Oh,
Oh,
oh my
Doc's
God,
life
that's
Doc's life has
amazing.
really changed a lot
That's
recently.
amazing.
Doc is now the proprietor of our house and now has a cadre of socialite followers.
Oh my God. Okay.
Oh boy.
and a
Uh,
ragtag band of criminals and convicts.
oh, sure.
Oh right, yeah, my
Sure.
buddy's from jail.
Yeah, your impromptu song. Okay. Victor, you get, let's see, for the Order of Azure Eyes, an O. And for the, oh God, definitely for the Pinkerton, an X. Just out of curiosity, what are we at now?
I mean,
Oh, jeez! Whoa.
if we do it
Oh.
exactly by game rules, it doesn't come in until dusk phase, technically. But
But
the thing that's going to be introduced next is the mastermind threat, if I'm not mistaken.
you are quite correct, and there's nothing that necessarily says I couldn't introduce it in the mastermind as part of the mastermind threat because of in the mastermind threat there's no phases. There's only one singular dawn phase, and that is at the conclusion of the threat. So, yeah, hitting 20, and what that means is we bring the beast on. Wow. Oh, okay, so let's see, what are we looking at here? When the total of the boxes is 20, the beast threat sheet to the keeper, tell them to put it in play, even if there's already active threats. If hunt X totals at least 10, instruct the keeper to lower the first question's complexity by 2. Otherwise, instruct him to lower the second question's complexity by 2. Okay, let me look at this. Yeah, I will definitely incorporate the beast threat into the mastermind threat because that's fun. That is ridiculously fun. I've only been able to work with the beast threat once.
I haven't written anything into the sheet, Mads. But like, if you're looking at it, I will add stuff, or I'll just give you the thing over Discord also.
Yes, please.
Yeah,
please do. I mean, you don't even have to fill in the sheet if you don't want to, but I mean, like, definitely answer the questions and then, like, give it to me as a DM if you want.
Yeah,
that's perfectly fine. So, I mean, I'm not even going to go through the end of session stuff or the dawn questions because I think you all have reached your advancements. That's fine. If you want to activate your move, Doc, you can, just tell me, did you hit like any echoes of the night?
I don't think so. There's something with Taggart hanging, and then the brawl ensuing kind of below him that makes me feel like the friar character I described, or the parson, but it's not solid enough. I couldn't explain to you why I think those things mirror each other in any meaningful way. So
okay, that's fine. Just wanted to make sure that you can activate your move if you need to.
Totally.
And Whitmore, did you need to activate your dawn move?
Memory of the servant. Either claim a memento or give a memento from a recently concluded night phase to another hunter.
It's up to you.
There's no reason not to. Just looking at the personal quarters items available to be used, I think we have to give another one to Victor just in case. What would Whitmore have had access to that Victor would actually use, and not as a distraction item? You know what? I'd say on the table of all of Dr. Klauser's fake scam props and things, I think it would be reasonable to assume that from his time spent in that little organ harvesting ring, a human skull. I'm not sure how you're going to use it. It just feels very Armstrong. One human skull.
If you got time, stars and wishes.
Yeah, I can go first. I have an early date tomorrow, so I'll probably head out right
That's
after
fine.
I say stuff.
Yeah.
Stars to Mads. Night phase is the like toughest part about it is kind of just like setting up situations that have a lot of momentum. And very good job on both ends. Giving us everyone like things to do. I feel like that sometimes is difficult. Whenever like people are in the same spot doing the same thing during a night phase, it's tough to do that. So good stars for that. Star to Jeremy for being always like so eloquent whenever he deals with threats. Um, like, um, every word chosen feels so purposeful and like, for lack of a better term, like very like classy, like which is very different from like how Victor or Doc talk. So it's a good like juxtaposition to that. I could never pull it off like as off the cuff as you, Jeremy, but you do a very good job of it. And um star to Doc, because yeah, like the back and forth between you and Taggard was very like you are like my rival, you're my villain. And it's very like the back and forth was very well done. And kind of like, yeah, the creative thing of in the prison just like making friends with everyone through song is just like something that I feel like only your character would do. It's a very specific to your character, and it's very um good like showcase of that and that particular move. It was very creatively done. Um and wishes for next time. Yeah, I'm just really excited about the Mastermind threat. It's like like my favorite part of the game. Any like game with an end game is always good to me. And I think my only wish is I don't ever doing a bit of like the landing the plane conversation because of how things lined up. I don't want like the beast threat to be like the main part, like I want the mastermind threat to still be the big thing. Maybe the beast is there in relation, kind of just like showing up then, maybe like just like offering some help to Titania, but kind of just like as like if we were looking at like a threat sheet, this want to be like another threat on the list of things, like, um and I'm okay with like 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 if Victor, depending on what happens to Victor, like the end of Victor's story is just him being like, yes, this whole Hargrave house situation has just prepared him for the final hunt kind of deal. So I still want the if like overall I just want the mastermind to be like the big like focus of the final threat, if anything. Yeah. All right, everyone. I have an early date tomorrow. I will bid you all adieu.
As you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yes.
See ya. Who wants to go next?
Now that Paul's gone, we can say nice things about him. Star to Paul, because I don't think we've seen Victor take like an intentional backseat role in a fight. Like, if not ever, just in a while. And it was nice to see Victor let someone else take the lead. Like, oh, these are just normal people. I don't need to do anything here. And only stepping up when it became too much to handle. And that felt very Victor. To mirror that same star for to you, Bob. I don't know how much thought planning and execution went into the we're gonna turn this jailbreak into a musical number, but oh my God, I did not see that coming. In 1,000 years, it was gonna be guns blazing, dynamite being thrown, like whole night phase was getting you out of prison. And it's like, nope, musical number. And it was great. Mads, on a similar note, having pulled up Tramp, Tramp, Tramp during one of the breaks, I'm sure it's copyrighted and you can't put it in, but if you could, as a background to this, at some point, the opening lines fit so nicely, and finding that piece that is both Americana and narratively satisfying. I don't know how long you spent. I don't know if this is just your American folk song lore is that great, but oh my God, that was gorgeous.
It's actually in the threat.
No, it's you. It was all you.
You're so cute. Oh my gosh.
Nah. And then wish for the future at some point in the next 2 sessions. I just want to use my person Friday once.
Yes.
I have selected. I've yet to find a good opportunity to use that move ever, and just one time. That's all I'm asking for.
Okay. Let's see. So my startup poll was also about the positioning for our little warehouse fist fight tonight. I love that as a proactive decision, having Victor express care and emotional intelligence in a very Victor way. Just really, really smart character decisions for Victor. Um, Jeremy, star to you because I think the last time that we saw, or at least that I saw, I think I've been absent for a couple of sessions. So I think the last time I saw a full Whitmore answering an entire threat on his own was the Monochromatic Men of Three Mills Island, where you just kind of like were there with a sword at the center of it. And it's always such a Whitmore becomes like very heroic and very like has a lot of presence, deals with a lot of intimidating forces whenever he's kind of solving a threat all on his own. And so I think you deserve a star for that. And then Mads, my star for you is actually for taking, I think really what it stemmed from probably was my mention of using the harmonica in the jail cell for you to then say, okay, cool. It's also then a barbershop quartet and people are singing and it's a musical. That was such a good, you took that little thing and just ran with it. And now we've got one of my favorite scenes I've ever had described happening from one of my characters' decisions, a half musical number, half jailbreak. Thank you so much. As far as wishes, I'm just honestly I'm excited to see the Mastermind threat as has been mentioned before already. I'm excited to see how that differs mechanically. You mentioned there's like no phases until the final dawn after. So I realized I actually don't know specifically how the mechanics are going to switch around, and I'm excited to see that.
Yeah. Not by much, but yeah. I mean, I'll explain all of that when we get into it. I mean, there could be like, a little bit of some vulnerable moves, to start, like just kind of like easing everybody in and clearing as much as they need to clear or what have you before the culmination of the whole campaign. And yes, it is in the threat itself as a moment where like a barbershop quartet will break out into that popular song, Tramp, 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 and when you brought out the harmonica, it just inspired me to look at some of the moments and go, that is so fitting. It has to go in here. And it was beautiful. So, yeah, did not look up anything except for like, what's on the threat, which is great. I love it when things are very like, serendipitous. Yeah, everybody did such a great job today. I was very appreciative of the fact that um, Victor was wanting his companions to get some time for themselves as being in the forefront, which was great because yeah, normally a character like the Legacy is like all about like the bombacity of their fighting and then like, really pulling on that whole I'm a legacy, like this is what I do, this is what my family has done for years, decades, centuries, whatever. And it's great. But, this time he took a back seat, but he was still going to be a main character. So, I mean, like, of course that was going to happen. And then Doc, yes, definitely applauding the whole like musical type of scene. It could have been something out of, you know, any musical that just kind of introduced the characters having character, which was great. I loved it. And like even in your interactions with Taggart, I mean like, you know, very on point. So, um that was awesome. And Whitmore. Yeah, I agree. So elegant, so eloquent, and able to give a quiet strength to your uh, presence, especially when you roll so well for that. I mean, you know, I wanted to give you the chance to show how, even though Whitmore has gone through so much, he's taking that and running with it and making himself his own self, which we haven't really seen, of course, because he's been eclipsed by the people he works for. And it's really nice to see a factotum, like, you know, get his own get their own back per se every once in a while. So my wishes for the mastermind thread are to give you guys the time of your life. I hope that you will be able to enjoy yourselves and um, you know, appreciate the culmination of, again, all of your hard work throughout this whole entire campaign. Um, it's been a lot of roller coastering, a lot of like, you know, back and forth. But I will say, I mean, like, you know, this has been a fun campaign. You guys have made me laugh, made me cry a little, made me a little bit horrified and scratching my head because I'm like, what kind of decisions are these? But it's been great, and I can't wait to bring it, and I hope that you will too. So, you guys have a nice couple of weeks, and I will see you as we finish this off. Alrighty? Happy gaming to you all. See ya.